First of all, we've been talking a lot about the Eurovision Song Festival. Luckily for me, I'm not standing here with a beard, wearing a dress, and prepared some songs. Luckily for me, we're talking about digital readiness today. That's more in our comfort zone, because we're two travel and tourism experts from the Netherlands.
Yes, and as part of the Digital Tourism Innovation Campus and as part of the Digital Tourism think tank, we're honored to stand here in front of you of 200 tourism professionals. And the idea is that we're going to connect live with 200 tourism professionals in Barcelona from all over the world. So.
Yeah. And I guess one of the most exciting things of today is for me as a Dutchman to say, how are you becoming digitally ready? And the other thing is that if we're talking about digital readiness, one of the other exciting things is then to set up a live link across countries from here, Edinburgh to Barcelona. So I'm looking at the technicians, whether we have a connection now or not. It's going to be exciting.
But certainly a very good replacement. And Natalie as well hasn't been introduced yet. We're going to stay on stage straight after. Natalie is in charge of the European Cities Marketing Digital Cities Network. And of course, Chad, you've seen yesterday. So right now we're going live to Scotland. And I'm very excited for this part because we are connecting with our sister event in Scotland. So let's see if we have them live.
Let's see if we...
Yeah? Oh, sorry.
Nick,
hello,
can
Nick.
you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Not quite.
Hola, Barcelona.
We had the video from yesterday, and Stephen de Jong, and here they are.
Hola.
Here we go.
Just a second.
Hey guys, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
So, we have been planning this for quite some time. I think what would be great is to hand straight over to Isabel and Stephen, just to say a big hello, and many of you guys know both of those people there. They are taking our place in Scotland today, and they're with the Scottish tourism industry.
Nick, I believe there's some delay, and we can't really connect with you, I guess. You're not hearing what we're saying, are you?
There we go. We can hear you perfectly. So we're just giving a big hello, and a big hello to you guys over there in Scotland, and a big hello here from Barcelona.
Well, a big hello back, I guess, and we're excited, and the crowd is ready for the first panel. So
big hello to Heidi, Chad, and Natalie. Technology.
let's go on.
Before going ahead with today's session.
Just kick off.
Yeah, try it again.
So what we are going to try and do, and we'll see if this works, it's a big test of international Skype connections, is to do a Scottish and Spanish wave, a little bit like a Mexican wave. So what we'll do is we'll start here with the guys in Barcelona. So if I could just turn my camera around. Yeah, very high tech here. So guys, just starting from the very back, let's do a Barcelona wave. Just raise your hands and move down. Come on, you can do better than that. Yes, yes, there we go, there we go. Now can we have the same in Scotland? Okay. Yay! Excellent. Well done. Not without its challenges, but we got there in the end. So guys, we're going to get on and discuss the topic of transformation. Thanks for tuning in. They're also watching the live stream. So we will maybe connect with you later on. Thanks a lot. So we've had a great opening this morning. And Heidi's done a brilliant job there of showing what a destination might want to be focusing on in the future. So looking back at the topics that we covered earlier on, funding, governance, engagement, and innovation, I think I want to start off by just getting a better understanding of the different models of your own organizations, because actually you're 4 very different organizations. So perhaps I'll start with you, Christo. Just give us a feel for Cape Town tourism and what your model is and how you operate in terms of funding and your stakeholders.
So we are government funded, but we're not a government entity. We are a not-for-profit organization. But the majority of our funding comes from government. However, we do make some income from our stakeholders. And we're now in a very unique situation where in the past we used to only have, we went from a year-on-year deal with the city, so we used to be, signed a year contract. Whereas now we're in a 3-year contract with the city of Cape Town, which is great, which actually allows us to do more longer-term planning and really think ahead and being able to actually transform our destination or our DMO, which is great because it allows you the flexibility to be a little bit more creative and innovative in your thinking.
And where does this drive for transformation come from within Cape Town tourism?
Well, there's a lot of pressure on us to meet pretty huge targets, and the old way of doing, we're not going to achieve those very ambitious targets that the city of Cape Town has set for us. So there is a need for us to change the way that we operate and just change the way that we go about our business. So, that is a massive driver, and with every big meeting we have, we tend to go back to the drawing board and just trying to rethink, is the old way of doing still working? Do we need to really find new ways of going about things? Which is great because it keeps you on your toes and it helps you, or it allows you to be more flexible in your approach. But there's also a risk of almost being too innovative or too creative and almost getting ahead of yourself and not focusing on the real issue at hand. So it's a tricky balance to maintain, but I think we're on track and I think we'll get there.
Great. How about for you, Natalie? You're sort of sitting there with 2 hats because you're representing Visit Ghent, but of course you're also representing European Cities Marketing's digital cities. So this is surely a topic that comes up quite a lot in the groups and meetings that you have.
Yes, absolutely. It comes up a lot. And I have 2 mics now. Yes, it does come up a lot, especially in the new knowledge group that we will talk about later. And I can speak for Visit Ghent, of course, and we are 100% government funded. So I agree completely with Heidi. We are not selling anything the businesses in Ghent are selling, and we are just facilitating them and we make visitors come to them.
Yeah, and Chad, just tell us a bit about Pure Michigan, because I certainly know very little about Pure Michigan other than the island. It's amazing. I definitely want to go there. And Google Street View, been following some of the great things that you've done there.
Yeah.
But tell us about the organization itself and how you're sort of funding.
So I'm from Michigan, one of the 50 states in the U.S. We're relatively small. We're not the biggest, but we're not the smallest. It's interesting because as different as our destinations are, there's a lot of similarities in what of all of the challenges and opportunities facing all of us here, regardless of the differences in our destination. So we are government funded. So our budget for marketing and staff salaries is roughly $33 million a year, which is a lot of money, but it's a little when you look at how much California and Hawaii and Florida have to spend. So we have similar challenges in that we have a small budget and we have to be smart about where we invest our budget, and we have to be innovative as well to compete against the bigger players out there.
I guess that pretty much dwarfs your budget, Heidi.
Well, a little bit less in our region, 33 million. I'm not very good at math, but that's a lot of money.
But that's a small budget.
That's a small budget. We're funded also partly by government, not so much, not that volume, but we also are funded by the industry, and that's the biggest challenge in our region now that the government they expect industry to pay more, but they still want to be part of it. But we need more than 50% funding from private, and that's of course a goal also for us, because if the industry is willing to pay, that means that we are doing something that they actually need and feel are useful. So.
Yeah, so it's really what you're doing is directly driven by what people want and need to see.
But I also believe that if you have a small budget, which all of us probably will say we have, that also drives creativity in another way. So, like for instance, in our region, we're thinking we need to do more about movies. And what I told my team is that you have no money. How will you go about doing that? And then suddenly there's something totally new, fresh, coming around.
So actually, in your case, having limited resources has forced you to be more creative about how you do the things you do.
I think it's given us the opportunity to do stuff in a different way, because we didn't have the funding of $33 million.
It's a bit of jealousy there.
Not really, because I do believe that we are where we are now because we didn't have that kind of funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christo, in the case of Cape Town tourism, you guys are really creative. You're certainly, at the forefront and one of the leaders in Africa in terms of the work you do. How much does the actual budget and funding issue come into the day-to-day work you do? And how much is that coming from the government or the actual industry itself?
So, like I said, the majority of our funding comes from government. We also get money from industry as well. But I think, and we all have that in common, we always tend to revert back to, sorry, we don't have budget. That's the thing we go back to. And I wouldn't say that it limits us, because, you need to be creative in the way you spend your budget, and it allows you to be very innovative with the projects you take on. With a limited budget, and especially, our budget's not in euros, dollars, and pounds, so it makes it very tricky for us to compete internationally or to partner with international, agencies, because, in rand value, our budget is a lot smaller than our friends here in the US. But it really allows us to be very creative and also to be very practical with our solutions. And then also we do have that responsibility, because a lot of the DMOs in Africa look to us for inspiration. We tend to believe that we are, on the forefront of development and creativity in the DMO space in Africa. So it's great for us to fulfill that role, but it also places a lot of pressure on us, because we have to be innovative. So, every year there's this expectation on what will Cape Town tourism do next. So it keeps us on our toes, but it's great. It's great for creative thinking and finding new ways of tackling an old and maybe an outdated business model.
So Chad, with that fairly large budget, at least in comparison to the guys here on stage.
Yeah, it's all relative.
It's all relative.
Yes. Yeah.
The US is a very big place.
So because just to put in perspective, California's budget is $100 million, right? And you also have an organization like ours competing against not just travel competition, but also just competition in all industries.
What's the size in terms of population of Michigan, just to give people an idea for scale?
10 million residents, so roughly the size of Portugal.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say bigger. That's a great budget then. So when you talk about the sort of challenges, because you did say that also it's a challenge for you, is that in terms of where you are able to invest to get the reach, or is it actually to do with the activities and the resources that you have yourselves in-house?
I think there's a few different challenges. One is there's budget challenges, but also staff challenges as well. We, like many of us here, we just don't have enough staff, enough internal resources. So we are forced to be innovative and to think outside of the box. And a lot of the innovative projects that we do are either low cost or free. They don't cost a lot of money. So for instance, we were one of the first states in America to partner with Google to utilize their Google Trekker program. Only California and Hawaii were the two other states that used this technology. And it was essentially a backpack that we borrowed for about a month. And we went hiking and kayaking, and we went to all off the beaten path type places that Google Street View van could not go. And all the imagery was captured. We walked hundreds of miles across Michigan. All the imagery is now on Google Maps. So 1 billion people around the world that use Google Maps on a monthly basis now see Michigan on the map in Street View. That didn't cost us anything. Actually, it cost us $200 because we had to pay filming permits to some national parks that are inside Michigan for the privilege of filming their locations.
I guess that's a great example of how you can be very creative working with the right partners, especially some of the online players who have that huge reach. If you have an amazing or even just a very interesting product, then you can really work with them to get that reach and to get the attention. And we often quote you actually as one of the destinations that has worked with Google but has also used that opportunity to bring people to have a much greater awareness of what the destination has to offer.
Right, and this is a free program. Any of us in this room can partner with Google Maps to use the Google Tracker program, but there's so much competition to get Google's attention. What got our attention from them was that we are innovative and we do out-of-the-box type things. And so Google trusts us. When they lent us the Google Tracker, they knew that we would do a good job because we have a reputation for being amongst the first to do a lot of innovative things in the industry in the US.
And you turn that into a result for you. I'm curious to know, because it's been a while since I was within a DMO. So I'm curious to know from you guys about the tools that you're using. How do you collaborate on a day-to-day basis? I'm not going to ask Heidi, because I gave the Asana tip a while ago. I'm not sure how much they're using it. But perhaps starting with yourself, Christo, how do you communicate within your teams?
So this is actually a funny story, because I used to work very heavily on Excel spreadsheets, and that form of collaboration was very tricky because there's a lot of duplication and there's a big delay in the messaging, and we're a very email and meeting based organization. We love meetings, we have a lot of meetings, and we send emails back and forth. And then a few years back, we discovered Google Drive, and it's amazing because now it's a platform to collaborate, and it's great because its changes are in real time, and it really enhances the overall experience within the organization. I think there are some improvements that we can make, and we are busy looking at our internal operating model on more collaborative tools and project management tools to streamline our operations and make it a little bit more effective. But we've come a long way on producing everything we do on Excel, saving, attach, send. It's a tedious process, but we are advancing in that. And we're also looking at a complete new CRM integration, which is one of the major projects we're undertaking this year. So we're getting there. We are making advances. And there are so many great tools available online. It's just actually finding the right tool and then using it for the correct purpose.
Yeah, and I guess the meeting scenario is something you can perhaps relate to, Natalie.
Yes.
Do you think, as a leading European city, and also having seen the work of other cities, that that there's a lot of meetings, but we need to collaborate perhaps in a different way and communicate with each other in a different way?
There is a lot of meetings, and talking from a government organization, there are too many meetings, in my opinion. But nowadays we also try to have more conference calls, Skype meetings. It's not always easy with bad connections, and we also have a monthly chat. A lot of the destinations working with ECM have a knowledge group chat meeting on Skype or another platform. And I think we also a lot of them use Google, the Google platform for documents, or a Dropbox. There are a lot of tools online that you can use.
And how about within Visit Ghent? How do you work together as a team?
Well, the city provides us with Microsoft Office, and so we are all on OneNote.
Yeah.
It works for now. I've downloaded a new app, Slack, and I'm trying to see what
Is there the room within the organization to experiment? I think this is what I would love to get a feel for. How free can you be to sort of work on new tools and find new ways to work together? Or are you sort of being also 100% government funded, restricted to doing things through certain platforms in a certain way?
Yes, I think for now, as long as you keep reading your emails and responding to your emails, you can on the side use Evernote or OneNote or Slack or whatever to work within your own team, as long as you keep up with the traditional fax and letter and.
So it's always something on the
On-
side then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
I guess that's quite interesting because I think the private sector is sort of embracing all the new cloud sort of tools that are available, hugely successful and popular, worldwide across all industries. And what we often see is that the very government heavy organizations are very restricted by IT departments
Right.
to work
By
through a set
security
way.
reasons.
By security. And that's a challenge for us as working in a more creative environment as destinations, because actually we need different tools and we need to be able to work together in a completely different way. And so these are not necessarily the right tools to use.
I was just going to say that it's very fragmented now, and I think I'm going to try Asana too, because I see it integrates a lot of things. and
I really
that
should
would
get
help.
paid for this, honestly. But it is amazing. Chad, how has your process of working changed? You've been at Pure Michigan for 5 years now?
Going on 5 years now, right?
How has the process of changing, working changed over that time?
Significantly, technology changes. I mean, you turn around, you turn back around, there's something new with some social network or some new technology out there. And we're very much like your organization. We don't have a central, collaboration tool because we are, government funded and there's, information, there's IT restrictions around that. You know what our secret is? We just get up and walk across the hallway. We just talk, And yeah, there's a lot of meetings, but it's nice to have routine meetings, if it's weekly or monthly, just that I know that I'm going to get a chance to talk with our leadership or talk with my peers in other departments. And so where does innovation happen in our organization? It happens amongst all of us. Some of the best social media ideas that our organization has came not from me, but from my team members in other departments in public relations or in advertising or. And best ideas happen from all of us. And frankly, if it wasn't for the support of our leadership, from Dave Lorenz, our CEO of Pure Michigan, if it wasn't for his support of allowing us to take risks, calculated risks, not crazy, harebrained risks, but calculated business risks, a lot of this stuff that we're doing just wouldn't happen. So for instance, the Google Tracker program, Google sent us a 20-page contract. And they said, if you break it, you buy it. And they didn't tell us how much it cost. It could be $1,000 or $10 million. Who knew, right? And so if it wasn't for Dave Lorenz saying that he felt the business benefits justified the risk of us breaking the machine, we wouldn't have been able to put Michigan on the map, Google Maps.
So it's also about leadership then, I guess, in terms of having someone who really believes in something passionately and also empowers the team to use their own creativity and to put what they can into the output of what the whole organization is trying to achieve. How does that reflect in the hierarchy of how you work on a day-to-day basis? How many people are in Pure Michigan?
Well, I'm going to say it's a small staff, but then again, it's all relative.
I think you better be careful before you say anything like that.
Yeah, no, we have a team of 8.
That's
small.
okay.
And at the height, going back to 2007, 2008, before the economic downturn, that affected the world's global economy, we had a staff of about 30 individuals. But so the numbers have dwindled from then.
So you have seen a big change since that period in time.
Yeah, so we've seen a reduction in staff. So one of the benefits of a small staff is that you're forced to be collaborative. You're nimble. You can make changes more swiftly, and there's not a lot of layers of bureaucracy. So if I want to do something out of the box, I just walk across the hall to Dave Lorenz, and I say, hey, Dave, I got this great idea. And he either says, okay, great, run, do it or not do it.
I wonder how many people here have a boss like that. That sounds really, really great. Yeah. Now, Heidi, you're the boss. So
That's very nice. Very nice being the
boss. Are you like
boss.
that?
Yes, I'm the perfect boss.
You mentioned during your presentation that you don't see that the marketing team per se in the future.
That's been a challenge for the organization because when people start working one place, they expect to have a title and this is my field of expertise and that this is what I'm supposed to work with. But I've said, well, we're a flat organization. We're only 5 people, and then we have all these specialists that have a part-time engagement with us. That can be challenging, how to secure the core knowledge of the organization at the same time as you work with specialists on an hourly basis. But when it comes to the social, I said, well, we can't have, like, behind that door is the social media person. Everyone working within the organization work with social media, or they don't work with us. So, because we can't have it like if person is sick, then all the social media is down because that was the only person in charge. So everyone works with social media. That's actually the only kind of marketing thing we do. And then it's changing. Like, we've been working a lot with the team, saying what kind of, what's your personality and what does you fit, what's your fit in the organization, what can you do best? So during 2016, I think a lot of the people working with us will have a new role, more based on what their skills are and the personality and what are the strengths for the organization. So instead of working in boxes saying, well, you're in charge of the domestic market and you work with the foreign market, we're all kind of flattening it out. I don't know how to explain that in a good way, but work more as a team on projects, not so much on this is your department.
So it's more,
when we're 5 people, well, it depends. We can't have that many departments, really.
So you have a flatter hierarchy with more, I guess, transparency then in terms of who's responsible for the different projects, but not necessarily sort of levels of management and things like that.
Yeah, and that means that we actually all work on all projects, and that is a challenge. So when you mentioned Asana, yeah, we do use that a lot because we saw we had problems with projects since everybody's involved in some way. There must be something missing during a process, and we need tools to help us. Even though we're 5 people, we go across the hall and we talk and we sit in the same office. We still needed a tool to help us, not being when the project maybe failed, what happened, there was a task that nobody attended to. So we've been working a lot of getting good tools that can help us in a world where everybody's actually working on the same project at the same time, but have different roles.
Yeah, so you can actually do more things with less people, effectively.
Yes, more or less.
Yeah. Now, Krista, what I'm quite keen to learn more about is, as a destination, you have a very unique position because your markets are not your nearest markets, which most destinations focus, first of all, on a geographic distance, and then they look at the long-haul markets. So you're very unique in that sense. How does that change how you work and how you actually build the right people within your team who have a strong awareness of the kind of behavioral instincts of those markets?
So, I mean, that's very important because our main source markets are the European markets and then also North America, United States. And it's challenging because we're in Africa, you know, all of the conferences and the workshops we go to focuses very heavily on especially the digital conferences, on an African environment. And the digital world or the digital realm in Africa is very different to the rest of the world. And we need to kind of, you know, wear both hats because we do have a focus on attracting people from Africa to come into the destination, and then also within South Africa to get locals to come, you know, or you know, people from the northern part of the country to come to Cape Town. So we have to be very versatile in that approach because even though we are all the same and you know, the challenges we face are the same, the approach we take with our markets are very different. And even the collateral or the material we use for the North American market is very different that we use for the UK market because it's not everything appeals to the same type of traveler. So we're very focused in our target markets, and I think that's something that we do very well. We're very clear on who we're targeting, and we're very specific on how we market to those specific markets. But it's also a challenge in the terms of what, you know, how they consume digital and when they consume digital. And you know, then there's a time zone difference. I mean, to market Cape Town to a US market, whereas it's very tricky, especially on social media. And we also see there's a lot of diversity within our online channels as well. So the audience we have on our website is very different to the audience we have on our social platforms. So it's taking a unique approach on each of our various platforms to make sure that we reach the right markets and get the right message across to the right people.
Very interesting. Now, Natalie, in the case of Visit Ghent, you have some actually really basic fundamental problems, which is the spelling of the word Ghent is different in every language.
Yes, and it's sometimes not even the spelling, but the word. In Spain, it's Gante. In France, it's Gant. So yes, and there was a lot of discussion about that. Also, visit is an English word, so should then Ghent be the English spelling? And then in the end, we just decided to use the native Belgian Ghent and put visit in front of it for all the different languages.
Now, I would like to spend the last part of this panel focusing on innovation. So how do we actually think outside the box, think of those new big ideas, challenge what we're doing on a day-to-day basis? And I'm keen to know from our panel, and I have no idea who's doing the most innovative things here, because this sort of stuff often happens internally. But do you guys take time out of what you're doing to think about completely new approaches to how to do things in the future?
I guess I'll take a first stab at it. With all our small staff, we feel that good ideas come from anywhere. There's not one individual that owns innovative or creative thinking. So we're constantly looking for what's new and what's next. And we do meet routinely inside our organization to brainstorm and then to figure how we could take our limited budget and to really stretch it further. And also sometimes we have good ideas and we get resistance for these ideas. So we work with a number of advertising agencies that help us with some creative work. And about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, we were going through a website redesign project, and this was before responsive web design was new. It was so new that the industry didn't even have a name to call what responsive was. Is it adaptive design, or is it fluid design, responsive design? And so we felt at the time that we wanted our new website to be responsive. And there was only one other state in America that had a responsive web design, and it was Oregon. And our agencies were telling us, you can't have a responsive website. Your website has too many photographs. It's too graphics heavy. Responsive doesn't work if there's too many graphics. The industry hasn't figured it out. Unless you're a newspaper website, you can have a responsive website. But for a website like yours, you can't do it. And we stuck to our guns, and we said to our agency, we want to have a responsive website, even though it was unproven and untested. And it was absolutely the right decision to make at the time.
Wow, so that's good results through collaboration and actually kind of working together. How about yourself, Heidi?
I'm thinking we don't do innovation on marketing campaign and that kind of stuff, but I do hope, even though I had too much sangria yesterday, that I was able to tell you a little bit about transformation, how we innovate on what the role of a DMO is, that we're moving away from the traditional role and creating a new platform for cooperation between the industry in southern Norway, and that's quite innovative. And the new strategy that the board just went in for on Tuesday, that I couldn't really present here, that would look totally different from a lot of what the other organizations are doing. So during 2016, I hope that we will have a lineup of a new way of being a DMO, or whatever we should call it, but we're not a DMO, we're more like the facilitator for the industry to working together.
So how important is it then to get your industry together? I mean, the Norwegian Digital Travel Conference is an amazing example of how all these businesses are able to focus on very specific kind of concrete learning and outcomes.
Yeah, for us we are there for the industry, so we need to take it a step further, but we're not there for ourselves, for our organization. We are there to serve the industry. So we need to have an organization that actually serves the industry and are able to change and adapt and also challenge the industry when that's needed. But first and foremost, we need to kind of get the grasp on what are the challenges for the industry and how can we help them. And then we need to change the organizational structure and the platform on cooperation with the industry.
Great. Now we're going to go to innovation in the digital cities of European cities marketing in a minute. So I'm actually going to go straight to Christo and ask, Christo, you've got a very beautiful destination, a few iconic things, table mounting, the wonderful beaches, and just outside you have the vineyards, of course. So with all of this scenery, do you guys as a team take time out to go out and think in a completely creative space, a blue sky thinking, you could say?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate. I mean, that Cape Town is that beautiful, and it's amazing to work for an organization that markets such a beautiful product, if you will. And that's the advantages of working for, within the tourism industry in Cape Town, is that it allows you to go out and experience the destination. We're not office bound the whole time. When we go to marketing meetings or we have team building sessions, we go out and we go to the beach, or we go, we walk around the streets, or, we would have a meeting on the go. So we would actually, all of us just take a step outside of office, walk around town. So it really allows you to get out of that confined space of the office, even though we have a very beautiful and creative office, which allows for creative thinking. But to get outside of the office and into the destination, which is actually, the thing that we're supposed to market, it really helps us achieve that creative thinking. And it's also, not only focusing on the iconic attractions in the city, but taking a different angle or a different approach, get off the beaten track to speak more to the needs of the millennial. And we do that as well. We go into, the places where the locals would go, and we really try and seek out new and creative spaces, because that helps us to innovate as well and find, or to put a new spin on a city that is very well known for their iconic attractions.
As a great understanding of how you work, and I think also the need to really understand how the visitors are looking for things by just going out and understanding your product in a rich way.
No, absolutely.
Thanks a lot, guys, for sharing your insights. I think that was incredibly interesting, and I know that the audience here will probably have questions about how you're working in the different aspects of what you do. I think certainly for you, Chad, they'll be interested to know where you spend that money, because they'll be very jealous. So thanks a lot. Let's give them a round of applause. And
I don't know.